Hi, my name's Tara. I am 35 years old and I live in Phoenix, Arizona. I have been married to my husband Zach for over 14 years and I have two beautiful little girls. My story of how Jesus changed my life is nothing crazy, but every story of how Jesus changes a life is a testament to his immense and immeasurable grace. So I was born in 1985 to a single mom in California. My biological father was a pretty terrible person, so he left before I was even born. And my mom had a great support system with her family and friends, but things were still really difficult for her with a newborn. And really, it was just her and I for 3 years until she met my dad. And they married when I was 5. And I love to look back now and see how my dad chose me to be his child, even though I'm not his own. And that's such a reflection in my life of how Jesus has pursued me and chosen me to be his child, even though I was not his own. And so growing up, I was super close to my family and my grandparents and my cousins, and we hung out all the time. Somewhere along the line, some of my family chose to become Jehovah's Witnesses, and so no longer they didn't celebrate holidays with us or birthdays. And I didn't realize it then, but their spiritual journey would affect my faith later on in life. So growing up, too, God was not really part of our life. We just didn't go to church. We didn't really speak about God. The only thing I knew about him was what I learned from my Jehovah's Witness family members or seeing some of the older girls at school pray for their food. I would watch them and I would mimic them, not knowing why I was praying for a sandwich or who I was really talking to. I just knew that that's something that religious people did who wanted to talk to God. And that was pretty much my encounters with Jesus until I was 10 and I moved to Arizona and I met my best friend Barbara. Barb and I were best friends and she invited me to church when I was in 4th grade, and I figured, I've got nothing else to do, so why not go to church with her? So I did, and I learned about this guy named Jesus, and we sang songs and played games. And there was a super cute boy who was in 6th grade, and so of course I stayed and I kept going to church with her. And it wasn't until about 6th grade that she had the boldness to ask me if I wanted to accept Christ in my life. And while my understanding and theology of salvation has changed over the years, I accepted Christ that night. I prayed the prayer, I said the words, and I accepted Christ. And really, nothing changed at that point in time. I lived my life the same way. I occasionally read my Bible. I didn't really know what I was doing, but I can see how he was pursuing me relentlessly through family, through my friend, through church, through so many different ways. Christ was trying to get my attention. The summer before my freshman year of high school is when Jesus changed my life and just flipped everything upside down. I went to a summer camp called Hume Lake, one of my favorite places ever, and something about my encountering him up on that mountaintop just changed everything for me. It was like Jesus became real. I came back down the mountain with a renewed or newfound sense of why I needed him in my life, and my heart was on fire. I was a painfully shy child growing up, even up until this time in my life. So standing up and speaking at church or volunteering to play in the worship band, do all of these things that I started to do was just really out of character for me. Everyone around me was seeing me change and become essentially somebody new. Not only internally was I changing, Christ was changing my heart. I was changing on the outside. I became a whole different person, outgoing, and I would step up for leadership, which was kind of a crazy thing at that time. And that lasted all the way until I was in college. I met my husband in high school, and one of the things he says he loved about me was seeing how my heart for ministry. And that's not a praise to me, that's Jesus in my life. I mean, why else would I want as a 16-year-old to be living at church other than Jesus was drawing me to him? So this all continued until I was in college, and Zach and I got married, and we continued to serve in church together. So in my early 20s, after I graduated from ASU, I went to Phoenix Seminary and I started working on my master's degree. It was when I got to seminary that Jesus convicted me so bad. I was able to live the good Christian life and play the part and serve in ministry, and yet so easily just kind of turn it off when I wasn't at church. I realized how little I knew my Bible, how much I was serving just kind of out of obligation and compulsion. And it was such a great time for Jesus to pursue me and for me to learn more about him and just grow in not only in knowledge and wisdom of the scriptures, but also just who he is. It was during this time in seminary that my husband and I were trying to have a child, and things began to get difficult of realizing why isn't this happening? Then finally we did get pregnant right after seminary, of course, in God's timing. But quickly after I had my daughter, things got really dark. My husband was in a really dark place with just work and things going on in life. And I settled into postpartum depression. And I was a counseling student. So you would think that I would have recognized it quickly, and I didn't. I spent the better part of a year of my daughter's life in a serious, deep, dark depression. And I was so angry at God, so angry at him for doing this to me, for this affliction. And at that same time, we had a really, really bad church breakup that happened, and it was really painful for us as a family. So all of this together just ended up in anger. I was angry, so angry at God, and it took a year of this before I finally realized that it wasn't Jesus's affliction on me, it was him pursuing me and him growing me. I realize now, looking back, that he is always beside me, and he has always been beside me through the darkness, through the pain, through everything. And even though I don't have that crazy story of, coming out of an overdose, my story is just as important, and Jesus changes lives in even mundane ways that are so eternally important. One of the coolest things about how Jesus has changed my life is that I have the hope now that not only my daughters, but maybe my grandchildren and my great-great-grandchildren will come to know Christ because of how he's changed my life. Being the first Christian in my family, I don't even know what the possibilities are. And while my story again is not wild, the impact that Jesus is going to have on my family for generations to come brings me so much joy and so much hope. And I'm so eternally grateful for how Jesus has changed me.